So, Grogu is small, and he has midi-chlorians. So would they be called mini-chlorians?
Mm-hmm. I only recently found out they're called midi-chlorians. I thought mini-chlorians for 20 years.
I knew this was going to lead to some stupid thing.
Welcome, everybody. This is what we think about here. Oh, well, I think about here on the Resistance broadcast. It is Monday morning, just something to jog the memory as you're eating your cereal or whatever you're having for breakfast this morning. We want to thank you for joining us.
People are going to turn that on and hear you say so blah blah blah, and they're going to be like, "Did I start in the middle of the episode?"
You got to check sometimes. You have to check, but you are at the beginning, and here we are. So thanks for joining us. I'm John, James, and Lacey with me as always. We have a lot of news stories to talk about across the whole spectrum of Star Wars, really. Real life stuff, speculation stuff, actual updates on some projects. So a lot of cool stuff we're going to get into. I'll get into the reminders in just a bit. But how you guys doing? What's going on with you guys? How's your weekends?
I'm doing good. I'm still in the process of absolutely making sure that I have all the Christmas presents that we need. And by that, I mean, did I buy Christmas presents for my wife? Because my wife buys Christmas presents for everybody else that
good for you.
We have something in common then, because I do all that too.
Do you?
Yes.
Yes. I'm already done with my shopping.
I am not even close.
Yeah, I'm super lucky in this regard that my wife kind of handles. She's like, we need to get something for your sister. We need to get something for,
right.
and she goes through.
Yep.
And she figures out all this
Makes
stuff.
a
She's
list.
like, I was thinking this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, that stuff sounds great. Let's do it. Yeah. And then there's only certain people that kind of fall into the thing that I have to cover myself. So yeah.
Me? I know, James. You can just ship it to me. It's fine.
Interesting.
Like two people. Yeah. No, actually, John, straight up, I found something. I was like, oh, I want to get this for John. And then it was like $175.
So?
It was a candle. And I was like, nope.
It was a candle?
Sorry. It was a candle for $175.
Why are you buying me a
that.
candle?
Here's the thing.
That was my gift, a candle.
Does it play like Wicked Game by Chris Isaac too? Like, what's going on here?
Here's what it was. If you want to know, because you're not getting it. It was the guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and when you light his thing, his face melts.
Oh man,
that is
and
really cool.
And I thought, that just screams, John, it's a candle. What's the big deal? And I looked it up.
It's a homemade candle. They have to do different layers, and it's a lot of...
It was officially licensed, so I don't know. But anyway, it might have been one of those things like it was originally something that was officially licensed, and now people are like remaking it or selling it for way too expensive.
That's funny you say that, James. I saw something. I was like, that's James Baney. I gotta get this from. It was a Maserati, and I was like, oh, that's $100,000. I can't get that for James, so I'm sorry. But the thought is there.
The
right?
only car to me is Tesla.
You were gonna get me a candle. I was gonna get you a car. So who likes who better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, for the people at home, the only person that's ever bought gifts for anybody here is me.
Is that no? I bought you. No, I gave you the greatest gift of all time.
If you say it's like your presents or something, I'm. What? What did you give me?
An invitation to join TRB.
This is the longest intro for the day that we have so many.
We have a lot. All right, so
yeah.
we do have a lot to get to, but we like to rip sometimes. So yeah, reminder, the Mando Fan Show, we hope you check this out. This past Friday, Jeff Lowe joined us to talk about Chapter 14. We had a really great time talking about that and speculating on what's coming up this coming Friday. It is on the podcast apps, wherever you like your podcast, wherever you're listening to this now, probably, or watching, of course, on the YouTube channel. And this Friday, 8:30 East, live on our YouTube channel, we'll be joined by Ashi Bashar from the band Beartooth. He's going to join us to talk about Chapter 15 as we're getting down to the home stretch. He's a big Star Wars fan, and his band is actually a gold-selling band, metal band, right up James's alley, and mine, actually. Big metal fan myself, so I'm excited to talk about Star Wars with him and maybe sprinkle a little bit of heavy music in there. And the last thing, weirdbrothers.com. We have a coffee blend there. It's called the Resistance Brew. Lacey's holding it up if you're watching on YouTube.
Woo!
Just go to their site, weirdbrothers.com, look up the Resistance Brew, and it's right there for you to buy. It ships it to you real quick. It can be a stocking stuffer or for yourself. Frankly, I think it's delicious. So I drink it quite often. So that's that. But now we are going to get into the show, get into the news, and James, yeah, you got a big task ahead of you here, pal. So let's fire up the Resistance report.
It's the Resistance.
Well, it's never fun to start the Resistance report with something so heavy, but it is very important that we talk about one particular piece of news that happened last week, and that was the unfortunate passing of David Prowse. He passed away at age 85, and I saw a huge outpouring of people talking about how important he was, and interestingly enough, that included Star Wars and Disney film, as you know, people have said for many years that he's kind of been hidden a little bit in a way, but it was very evident when he passed that everybody was on the same page with how much he brought to the role and everything like that. So just we wanted to mention it on the show. John, if you have any thoughts here?
It's just, again, a staple in Star Wars. One of the first images you see in Star Wars after the droids is the stormtroopers and Darth Vader walking in, putting his hands on his hips, and everyone kind of saying, "Who the hell is that?" And it's the 6'6" bodybuilder from England who was a gamer. And even when he found out he wasn't the voice and stuff, he still played ball and did such a great job throughout that whole trilogy. And he was the physical essence of Darth Vader. And even some parts in Rogue One, you're kind of like, that doesn't really move like I remember Vader moving. And it's because he really brought that aspect of Vader. Everyone talks about James Earl Jones, but David Prowse was the guy in the suit, really bringing him to life in those scenes. So rest in peace, 85, great life, great run. And his legacy, he'll live on forever because of that. So rest in peace, David Prowse.
Yeah. Lacey, thoughts?
It's very sad, and I think for me, it's wonderful to see all the kind sentiments and everyone saying all these wonderful things, which you wish the person could see, because oftentimes people don't say things until it's too late. So just a reminder of that, telling people you appreciate them, but also just kind of a reminder that time doesn't stop. And I think it's just one of those things as Star Wars fans in particular, we've learned over the past probably decade is like, time doesn't stop and our heroes aren't always here. So it's a little sad, but we appreciate him and we're glad he was a part of the saga. Yeah.
And I'm really excited. Like something like this happening also reminds me how kind of well they've treated a lot of the newer characters that are behind the masks. You know what I mean? Like Gwendolyn Christie and obviously Jonas Suotamo as well. Like these people feel a lot more part of the cast than the previous Star Wars movies did in the past.
Right.
Know? So it's really cool. Because I saw a lot of montage videos, of him just moving around, and it just, you honestly think of Darth Vader, but then when it put in this context, you watch those scenes again, you're like, there's someone walking, bringing that character to life, and they're doing it in such a way that is forever locked into film, and it's just super important and very cool. So yeah, rest in peace, David Prowse.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about George Lucas. George recently has been interviewed for a book that is upcoming by Paul Duncan. It's called The Star Wars Archives, and they're I can't think of the word, but cataloging episodes 1 through 3, like this particular time era of Star Wars. And he did this interview, and the biggest thing in kind of our opinion to come out of this interview was specifically that he kind of gave Star Wars up. Like he said, I retired from Star Wars specifically to spend time with my family. There was some more details here as to how he came to that decision. And I'm going to let John talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this is, it's not going to be easy for, fans of George Lucas to like swallow these quotes. And, for me, who's someone who has really been enjoying the product since the sale, AGL, I think it's still tough because you see a guy who's sitting here saying, I was almost 70 at the time, was about to get married and had the daughter, and do I want the rest of my life to be spent making a Star Wars movie? And he figured, oh, maybe I'll live till 80. And he figured his trilogy, just like the prequels, would take 10 years, which would put him at 2022 to finish his episode 9. But he said he was gearing up to start it, and he was talking to Harrison, Carrie, and Mark, and he was going to get his trilogy going. And then he made a really life-changing decision where he said, I'm choosing family over my other love, which is Star Wars. And the thing that really caught me is he knew he couldn't do it the way he would want to, which was still be involved and still be the head of Lucasfilm, but be back here, because he said he's so a micromanager and he's so controlling about his baby. And he said he tried to do that with Empire and Jedi, but he was right there, right in the grill, right up. He pretty much almost, some say he directed Return of the Jedi, like with Richard Marquand. Like he was so, no, not that. He had these markers on the boards and stuff. Like he said he couldn't be partially vested. It's all or nothing. So he made the tough choice to be nothing. And the one quote that really hurt me was when he said, and this is, I guess a relatively recent interview, he said it was really, really painful to let Star Wars go, which means I think he's still it really hurts him to this day that I think he may regret the decision if I was a guessing man. And there's still seeds of bitterness in there in terms of them not using his stories too. I feel like he thought, well, at least part of what I wanted to do would go on, and they didn't really use that, although the setup for episode 7 they used. So, I mean, it's you try to paint a light picture and stuff like that. I'm of the, like I said, of the ilk that I love what's going on right now in Star Wars, but at the same time also sad that George let it go and that he's still upset about it. And I think you can live in both worlds. Like they say, only Sith deal in absolutes. And I think it's perfectly okay to feel this way and love what's going on, and also feel this way and say, man, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, John, that's great. But Lacey, where you stand on this George Lucas and his decision to spend more time with his family?
I think ultimately he made the decision that he thought was right at the time. I think this is another instance in life where sometimes the right decision and the hard decision or difficult decision are the same thing. Like you can't make the easy choice because you think that's what's best. Like sometimes the best thing that you can do is the hardest thing that you have to do. It is, like he said, painful and heartbreaking to hear that he feels this way, especially because I would easily say that he's responsible for like my now adult imagination. Like he's the person that kind of created the worlds that I grew up in that then determined my creativity and passions and stuff like that. So it's difficult to hear that person that's responsible for so many people's probably personalities, lives, experiences to say, yeah, this was really painful, because it makes you feel like there's regret there. And it's never easy to deal with regret or guilt or any type of feeling where you don't think you did what you should have done. And I think it's very similar, and I've said this before, to kind of like the J.K. Rowling thing, where you create these characters and they're always in your head. So they're always kind of talking to you and they're in your head and all the scenarios play out. And we heard from J.W. Rensler that he was making changes to movies like when they're in the theater. So someone like that, like you don't turn that off. Even if you decide to sell your company and you decide to leave what you created, it doesn't leave you. You're just leaving the process of making that. So I'm sure it wasn't easy to see characters that are basically part of him and part of who he is be taken in a direction that he didn't want, or maybe they did, but not the exact way. So it's tough. But again, you have to say it is what it is. You know, you can't get in the DeLorean and go back and say, George Lucas, don't sell. Like, that's not a thing. So I hope he gets to work on some creative projects on his own. I hope he gets to create something new, maybe even get involved with Jon Favreau or something like that. So maybe he has a say in things and he feels like he's a part of it as like a consultant. I think it would be good for the fandom. It would be good for him. if he did have a say, and I think it would provide some kind of weight to decisions that are being made at Lucasfilm that I feel like fans can't argue as much.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely sold me there on the end too, because I think there's a lot of honor that comes with this type of thing, because I know, and we all are this way, but like when you're a creative person, you have this idea of the direction it's going to go, and ultimately, the only way that you're going to be able to get that done is by bringing in other people. And when you bring in other people, things change, and it gets really hard to let go of, your original vision. But you know that ultimately when it comes out, it won't be that, but it will be still good, or great, or it will even exist in the first place. Whereas like if I said before, you're not going to get those people involved, it's not going to happen. But George Lucas was so good at making sure that original vision was always true. And doing that accomplished something that's bigger than, just about anything. I mean, like Star Wars in the movie world is like Beatles in the music world or something. I mean, it's so crazy that it was all from this one person. But when given the decision of, him leaving for his family and stuff, it reaffirms that I think there's a really good moral head on George Lucas still to this day. And I say that, and then I turn around and say, and he's crazy if he thinks he can't still just come in and give his opinion on things and people will listen. I really think that it doesn't belong to him anymore, but I would find it very hard to believe that if he said, I would like to dip my toe a little bit, please. Can I get back in? Like he's going to be allowed, or he's going to be heard, So I ultimately think that it's fine. I miss a little bit of the idea of what his trilogy could have been, but I'm still fine with the way that everything has panned out. And at the end of the day, I think you said it, John. Like he's a little regretful of this, but I still think he's a happy person. I think he regrets not being able to do both, but he knows that he wasn't going to be able to do both. So
if anyone could ever the Sinatra song, My Way, like George Lucas could say he did it his way without a doubt. Like he never bent to studios. He always financed his own. The Empire Strikes Back financed himself, the biggest independent venture of all time. The prequels, he's like, nope, this is what's going on. Like he told his stories how he wanted to tell it. He sold it when he wanted to sell it. I don't think he'll have regrets in terms of like how he made his stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, moving on. This is my personal favorite story that we're going to be talking about this week. And that is because Diego Luna went on Jimmy Kimmel to have a little bit of chat about some stuff that he says he's in London. What are you in London for? And he did the joke that I don't like, which is I'm working on a little project.
You hate that.
You hate that.
It really, it bothers me. But anyway, I absolutely stan Diego Luna. I love this dude. I almost feel like I enjoyed watching this interview more than the episode of The Mandalorian. I was just like glued, like watching everything that comes out. I'm a huge fan of him, and he goes through the whole deal, explaining that he's currently shooting this series and where it kind of fits in the timeline, and he's just an awesome guy. And I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about this interview. John, what did you think?
Fun, without a doubt. The whole bit about Jimmy Kimmel saying, so let me just get this straight. You're filming a prequel series to a prequel to A New Hope, which takes place after the prequels. And he starts laughing. He's like, yep, I think that's about right. But when you say it that way, it's pretty funny. But no, it's really, interview aside, because there really wasn't a lot. And he's not going to give away a lot of information. But this project has been so rocky. And, they were supposed to start production on last year on this thing, I believe. And there were constant writer shakeups, director changes, delays. I know COVID's a part of that, of course, but maybe by convenience from a PR standpoint. To hear that they're filming this right now is a huge weight off of fan shoulders, I think, because until you hit go on the camera, we've seen like the Boba Fett movie project, a lot of Star Wars things that people thought were going to get made, and they just didn't happen. And even officially announced things that have still not happened yet. We don't need to keep going into that. They're rolling cameras. So we're getting the Cassian series, whatever it's going to be called. I call it the Rogue One prequel series. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Is a good thing. And as we're reaching the end of the road of Mandalorian Season 2, fans' eyes, including myself, we are very spoiled in this day and age with content. We're hungry for more info on what's next. We know Mando Season 3 is coming. They're filming that now, but what's the next thing? And it looks like, if they film this thing now, you're looking at a 2022 release. The only thing that I heard that will put a little damper on it is post-production stuff is delayed on this project in terms of how they mapped out the scheduling from what I've talked to people on. So they're going to get the filming done, but what they initially wanted started on post-production is being delayed a bit. So I don't think it's that bad. And a lot of that has to do with visas and, people have to travel to international locations to do this stuff and go inside the bubbles and, the NDAs and the skeleton crews, all that stuff. It's definitely going to be a 2022 show. So people shouldn't expect it 2021, but you're gonna have that, and you're gonna have Kenobi, Celebration. 2022 is gonna be a monster year for Star Wars. You're gonna get a trailer for that 2023 film probably. So 2021 is gonna
just skip ahead.
2021 is gonna be good because we're gonna get back to a normal life, and we're gonna get Mando again, and we're all gonna be feeling good there.
It's the reset year.
2022 is going to be like the next 2015 for Star Wars, I think. And that's going to be the vibe. So I'm channeling those good vibes. And again, to put a bookend on my thing here, the fact that they're rolling on this show is all that matters. And I couldn't be happy for Diego Luna. He's another one of those guys that you want to root for because he seems vested. He doesn't feel like he's better than it. I'm all about it. And I'm not the biggest, I was like, oh, do we need this series? I don't know. Give it to me. I'm really excited for it.
Lacey, how awesome is Diego Luna?
He's so awesome and he's so hot. I had to say awesome. It. He's so attractive.
I'm not going to say so hot.
Havana Nights, Dirty Dancing, so good. Go see it. Also, obviously, Rogue One. He's very attractive in that movie too. Anyway, I really liked what John said, where he's saying we better yub nub in 2022 like it's 2015.
Yeah.
Because if I'm thinking, like, oftentimes, people look back, you see on Twitter, people look back to like, oh, what year were you hyped about Star Wars? And I got to say, 2015 was like my favorite year of Star Wars, I think. With Celebration, I think Anaheim was like my favorite celebration for content because it was that Star Wars is back. Personal experiences, obviously 2019 is my favorite, but it was just the excitement of Star Wars is just the best. John's giving me like a you better say 2019.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Again, every time we get a little update about this and Kenobi, I'm like, yes, let this happen. Like, please, just let's go. Let's do this. And I think the thing I'm most excited about with this show is to see K2SO again. So the fact that I get to see him again and like, I can't wait for the gifts and stuff that are going to come from him. I just know it's going to happen.
That's a great point.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk.
Guys,
James is so excited. He's speechless.
I'm so excited about this. Every time I think about this series, I feel like it's that trailer with the Death Star siren that
I went to that train station. Can I tell you, that is one of the coolest things I've ever done. I went to that train station and just was there at night, and I was like, this is the Death Star. And then they didn't use that scene anyway, but
what
the
train
fact
station?
that I went. So that scene, they shot in the middle of the night in Canary Wharf outside of London.
Oh, okay.
And they shot it in the middle of the night, that whole scene, the stormtroopers, everything. And then they had to basically clean up before the morning commute. So Gareth Edwards says he was there when the morning commute people came in, and he's like, these people have no idea we just shot a Star Wars film here. Wow. And they were just like going to their daily business. Like, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I picture them like filming this and getting stuff, cataloged, and then like we're gonna get that trailer, and I just cannot wait for that trailer. I hope I'm not hyping it up for myself, but anytime you ever say like, hey, here's a movie that you really loved and they're bringing it to a series and you're going to get, 8 episodes and we have The Mandalorian to go off of, I'm just like, oh man, if you please just do what you're doing with The Mandalorian, but it's Rogue One. Yes! Like,
that reaction video is just James going, for a minute and a half.
So this John, like you said before, they're putting it to film. They're actually there. They're getting it on camera. And I'm looking at Diego Luna, just him saying, yeah, we're here. We're doing it. We're doing the Star Wars thing. And I'm like, it's real. It's really happening. Yes, right. I want it. Stop saying it's not going to happen. It's happening. Like, yeah, I love it. So fetch. Anyway. All right.
So fetch.
Yeah, well, stop saying it's not.
You're saying
happen.
Stan. You're saying so fetch. Who is this Baney?
What's that quote from Danik Ferrick or whatever they're saying in Mandalorian?
Dank
Ferrick.
I feel like that's the fetch of Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's
stop trying to
so excited. Yeah, he's so excited about Grogu. He's like, Dank Ferrick, that was awesome.
Yeah,
and Grogu's like,
right.
Yeah. Okay, another story here. Rosario Dawson is actually getting to speak out a little bit about playing the character of Ahsoka Tano. She says she still wants to continue to play the character. But this interview was specifically with StarWars.com. She did do something with Vanity Fair that was kind of a bigger thing that also included Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni also had things to say about bringing this particular character into The Mandalorian, why and for what reasons, and how they handled it, and the fallout of now that it's happened. What more does that mean? There was a lot that went into all this. John, what did you think of any statements from either Rosario Dawson or Dave Filoni? What was your takeaway from these articles?
Oh, Lacey, what would you rather talk about, Rosario or Filoni?
I think my big takeaway of this was her talking about Ashley. I mean, that's kind of like the big thing that stood out to me was, I think, and this is something that kind of frustrated me, I'm not going to lie, online, is after the episode came out, there seemed to be this conversation of who's the better Ahsoka and kind of pitting them against each other as, hey, Ashley's better, hey, Rosario's better. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do that? Like, nobody wants to be pitted against someone else. And I'm sure it's not, a great situation for both of them either. So that kind of made me annoyed. I'm not going to lie. I was like, can you not do that? I was really happy to see Rosario Dawson comment on Ashley's post on Instagram about how she was so excited to play Ahsoka and she really appreciated her. And then this interview kind of backed that up in the sense of her admitting that she watched all of Ashley's stuff and she finds a lot of inspiration from Ashley and she looks up to Ashley and what Ashley did with the character and how people grew up with that character and how much it means to people and what that means to her to play that type of character. And I think that that's something that people should make sure that they listen to. I think that people oftentimes don't give actors the credit of doing the background work and or caring as much as they think. Like some people might say, oh, they're just doing it for a paycheck. it's clear that Rosario Dawson is taking this very seriously from a character perspective, from an actor perspective, and then also just from the idea that she knows this character comes with a lot of expectation and a lot of importance in a lot of fans' lives. So I really liked that. And then I liked her talking about Grogu was fun too, like how she just like was excited to work with Grogu and do the fight scenes and stuff. But yeah, no, it was a great interview. But of course, you're gonna get into Dave, I'm sure, John. But he was a little sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, I like interviews with Dave Filoni, and I know people are at this point. I guess no, we'll wait till the end of the episode to reveal this, but. Filoni,
that's what I was trying to talk around, by the way, but we'll get
Filoni
to it.
Is I like how he thinks of his characters as real people in terms of a lifetime or a lifespan. And he, a lot of people see Ahsoka and they're like, well, Ashley's got to be Ahsoka. She's Ahsoka. And it's like, well, look at, someone when they were 25 and then look at them when they're 45, and it's like who they are as a person might be different, how they speak, how they look, all sorts of things can be different.
The
about
way
a
I looked at 23.
So he's approaching Ahsoka now, and he likes obviously borrowing from previous mythologies, as George Lucas did, and he's kind of bringing up how Ahsoka now is more of like the Gandalf, or more of the Obi-Wan, and how she's telling the story about Anakin Skywalker and how this Yoda guy, and it is very Obi-Wan A New Hope talking to Luke about stuff that happened in the prequels. So now we're seeing her have that sit down with Mando about what happened in her time. So I think that parallel is very true and exists in a very tangible way. And it's on purpose. It's not by accident. And people make the whole George Lucas joke, which is really an insult to his approach, which although it's like poetry, it rhymes. But that's what life is. And history repeats itself, and people learn lessons and they pass them on, they carry them on, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And I really do appreciate the fact that he looked at this character today saying, Ashley did a wonderful job being Ahsoka where we needed her to be Ahsoka, but we need someone else needs to take this this part of Ahsoka's life and play the role here. And him talking about how he heard about the fan casting and stuff like that, and he was intrigued by it, but then he brought it to Favreau, and Favreau said, I know her, so well, we can make that happen.
Yeah. Favreau knows everybody.
Yeah, Favreau's like, oh yeah, I
imagine his phone book.
Yeah.
Imagine his cell phone book, like with the names that if he scrolled through.
Oh man, yeah.
I want to know who has like the coolest phone book ever. Like what celebrity has the coolest?
Probably Robert Downey Jr.
Wouldn't it have to be Kevin Bacon? Because he's a connected.
Oh, yeah, 60.
There's a game based on his life. Although Robert Downey Jr. probably has a good one. Yeah, sure.
I feel like Robert Downey Jr. is like the guy, especially because
I bet Prince had a really good one. Like Prince seems like he would have a really good phone book.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have a lot of people who are legitimately good, but like people don't know who they are. Like his friends would be like people you never heard of.
Yeah, but
probably Taylor Swift too. I feel like she's someone that has like a lot of contacts.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at directors too. Spielberg and stuff too.
She has Kanye West blocked in her phone, probably.
She should.
Yeah. No, but yeah, to round it out,
she doesn't.
With to round it out with Filoni, I like that aspect of it, and when he says it, hopefully it lends credence to fans appreciating it, and maybe simmers the flames that Lacey's talking about, which really don't exist between actors, but that's the go-to thing online is you must compare this to something else. You can't just say this is good. It has to be this is better than this. One of these have to go.
I'm so sick of that meme.
Which one?
Stop doing that.
It's like none of it has to go. You have to go. How about that? So
you have to go. Imagine if you just started replying to those tweets with "you have to go."
I did to one of them. I quote tweet. I said, "You go. You get out of here." But no, it was Uber Fax. I said, "Uber Fax can go." Like,
Just use the Will Ferrell, like, you get out.
Stop trying to take your brand and inject yourself into fandoms to, like, get looks at your brand by causing fans to fight. Like, screw you. And Uberfacts tried to do that, so...
My favorite thing, by the way, we have an upcoming guest, Stephen Ford's coming on Mando Fan Show soon, and he replied to AT&T once. They were like giving him some snark or Comcast, and he just wrote "Okay, brand."
Oh, okay, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I like that.
I just loved it because he was like so clearly like he's like, "Okay, company, like you're not a person."
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Where was I going?
Ahsoka, how do you feel about it?
Blanking recently, yeah.
It's because Cassian's on the brain. You can't just everything else.
I'm sure it had to do with Filoni.
It must be. Well, we were talking about the whole like how people have to go up against each other. Oh, I know what it was. It was like I don't actually mind that meme. Like I think it's a fun game, but I think it's dangerous.
Sure.
Because I think the wrong person playing that game weaponizes it. You know.
Yeah.
I do find it fun. Like if you had to pick three of these, if you had to pick three of these four things, which one you're like, oh, but I love all four of them. So it makes you think about how you enjoy things, and I don't know. I don't mind the meme, but I 100% agree that it can easily be weaponized.
And the worst one, which might be unavoidable, is when an actor is like, I auditioned for this role and I didn't get it. And then people are like, oh, this person is better than Daisy Ridley. She should have been Rey. And like, how do you think that makes Daisy Ridley feel? You know, like that I hate that stuff. I really do.
Yeah. It's weird. You said, and the worst one, and because I thought you were talking about one of these hot dogs' names has to go.
One of these hot dog names? That's one of them?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Cause, and I chose D, worst. You said the worst. Never mind.
James, I have one for you, I think. Ready? One has to go. Cassian, Ezra, Thrawn, Kanan.
Like,
go where? Thrawn. I would get rid of Thrawn.
Wow,
probably.
That's surprising because you're wearing a Thrawn sweatshirt.
That's true.
How about Jeff thinking Thrawn's showing up? In Mando.
Crazy.
Yeah, interesting.
I didn't know he was such a big Thrawn fan. That was what I learned.
He's a big nerd in the action figures like me. Like I was a Power of the Force guy. So when he was bringing out the green cards and the red cards, I saw his back shelf. We had talked to him previously about that. Those were the beefy Star Wars action figures.
Yes, funny.
Yeah.
I just loved how he's like, it's up on the top shelf and I'm not getting it, so too bad. But it's there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, but getting back on track, guys, because I feel like we're a little off. The Rosario Dawson and Dave Filoni interviews were great. If you want to go check them out, they're both on StarWarsNewsNet.com, where we kind of catalog everything. And John, you said it too earlier. Like I love Dave Filoni interviews because I always feel like he is in real life. He kind of gives you like a little bit of the information, and then that kind of leaves you hanging. And this interview had like a huge cliffhanger that really caused people to stir up a lot of like speculation on where the Mandalorian's going, and spin-off shows and all sorts of other things, as he alluded to the whole like when does the end of Rebels take place?
Yes, that was the big thing.
And like Filoni, it's at the point with Filoni where you're almost like, I want to give my take on this thing, but I want to hear Dave Filoni explain why it was made first before my take means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you have an option between like red and blue, and you have an opinion about it, but Dave Filoni, if he's like, well, see, blue is the way that it's supposed to be, you're like, oh yeah, I mean,
that was a filler episode, and he's like, yeah, so this episode is actually the most important episode because, and you're like, oh, I am Andy Bernard as a food critic, apparently. These muffins are bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave Filoni has been doing a lot of work, and one of the people that he's been working with recently is Pedro Pascal, and that's because he has been on the set of The Mandalorian a lot more this season than he did in season 1, and he got to talk a little bit about that when he did an interview with Entertainment Weekly, saying, how the physicality of the character is super important, as we talked up top, about not George Lucas, David Prowse playing Darth Vader. Pedro Pascal is in this costume, and he has to bring the character to life, and he feels like he was only able to do it because of his upbringing and schooling and the other things that he's been involved with in the past, and he feels very very happy with the way that it's coming to be, as far as like how the character is coming alive despite the fact that he has to consistently wear a helmet. John, what are your thoughts on Pedro Pascal?
I like realism in Star Wars in terms of knowing he's in there, the actor's in there, or that sort of thing. And I know that sounds weird with the David Prowse comparison, obviously, but with something like the Tamara Morrison, oh man, that's the guy. That's the guy, that sort of thing, and knowing. And the guys did a great job season 1. The stuntmen, they did a fantastic job, and it wouldn't be one of those things where I'm like, oh, if you point out Mandalorian walking, I know that's Pedro. Like, I can't go that far, but he is a very good actor, and he knows how to do certain head movements how he talks, and the other guys can't really do that. So, but I'm just gonna read what I wrote in my article about Pedro Pascal real quick, and because it's pretty much exactly how I feel. So. I just said, while he clearly likes to joke and have fun, Pedro Pascal is also very self-aware when it comes to how fortunate he is to do what he does while understanding and never abandoning the big picture of life, the human condition. If you watch video interviews with Pedro Pascal, which I recommend, you will see a very human, very sensitive person who wears his heart on his sleeve. He is the star of one of the biggest shows in the world, yet carries himself with an incredibly genuine and infectious humbleness that makes you want to root for him in everything he does, even if he doesn't need it. Star Wars is fortunate to have someone as talented as Pascal to lead the inaugural Disney Plus series. As Grogu continues to humanize Din Djarin and their bond grows stronger, the character will undoubtedly have some heavy scenes ahead, and they couldn't have asked for a better actor to deliver these performances. As good as The Mandalorian has been, Pascal is just scratching the surface, and we are along for the ride. Wherever he goes, we go. This is the way.
Boom.
All right,
John,
next story.
Yeah, and nothing to add to that, Lacey?
No, I think that was beautifully said. He's a great actor, and he's so wonderful online with fans, and he has a great sense of humor, and he just seems like such a kind, wonderful person. And I think we learned that from the panel at Celebration in 2019 when he came out, and he was like, yeah, they brought me in and they showed me all this art, and they were like, I was like, oh man, what do you want me to be? They're like, we want you to be the Mandalorian. And he was like, what? And like him taking pictures and stuff. So it's just clear that he really, really loves this role, and he was the perfect person they could have chosen.
Well, Lacey,
So-
you were front row for that, and he
You always point that
I
out.
say that because there was one moment, I forget what was said to him that made him do this, but he puts his head down on the table and put his arms
Yes.
out, almost like he
Yes.
was embarrassed that he is the guy. And I forget what either Favreau.
No,
or
that
somebody-
was his. Oh my gosh, you want me to be the Mandalorian?
Oh,
moment.
okay. He put his head like on the table. Yeah, that
He's
was
just
cool.
so gracious and wonderful.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Great
yeah,
article. Go read it.
Yeah, I love Pedro Pascal. I think he's great. I know him from this, so this is the thing for me that I've not seen him in anything else, and I think it was funny because actually on Friday we were talking about Robert Rodriguez and Spy Kids and all that other stuff. There's a new Spy Kids trailer, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the heck is the Mandalorian doing in this? Like, I hear his voice, and I was immediately pulled to it. And, reading this article made me think a lot about, how much goes into the voice as well. I think we sometimes stick on how much his physical appearance and how much is, who's the person who's moving the body around and stuff like that. But, the voice is very important here. And I think that he is doing a very good job because we're watching these episodes, like the most recent one at the beginning, you can hear his excitement, his like fatherly joy that comes out when he's excited about how much
we got the knee slap.
Like learning
the dad knee slap. I loved it.
is learning how to use the Force, and I think he's doing a great job on both fronts, voice and physical. And again, like I think it just had more to do with his scheduling in the first season and not his lack of commitment. We're definitely going to see more of Pedro Pascal, and hopefully soon here. We forgot to speculate that on the Mando fan show when he's going to take off his helmet and be a little bit more relaxed with that.
I have a theory that
let's go for it.
It's not. We're not in a book it situation here, but I think it's going to be something where he's forced to take it off by Moff Gideon.
Ooh.
Or they restrain him and take it off him or something.
Or Baby Yoda's hurt and he throws it off to provide care. Like that's always the dramatic thing. Like especially in superhero movies, it's like, oh, I'm Spider-Man. Let me take off my mask when the person's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if there's a willingness to it, then he can move forward past that. John, as dramatic as yours is, where he's trying, like Moff Gideon's trying to break him down mentally. He says, I'm going to force you to break your credence, so take your helmet off and show me who you really are, or I'm going to kill the child. And he has to do it. That reimburses or reinstates how much he's going to want to leave the helmet on after these events are over. He's never going to want to take it off after that. So, I think Lacey's is more long term.
I agree. I agree, and that would make sense if that happened. I'm thinking in the realm of like Star Wars in terms of what it means to take the mask off, and like with Vader, it was Vader saying goodbye to what he held on to, which was Vader. But then you also have the other flip side of that, where you have the dominance over somebody by making them remove it, and that's Snoke telling Kylo Ren, take that ridiculous mask off.
The only thing that's kind of pushing me against that, while I think it's a good theory, is that the Bo-Katan stuff, where she's like, you could take your helmet off.
Yeah. No,
that's already kind of in his head. Whereas if that didn't happen, I would totally be like, yeah, he'll be forced to take it off.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's already, and the next episode after she does that, he like lifts it up so that the baby sees like the bottom half of his face.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, John, just not to step on your own example, but yeah, you're right. Snoke did force Kylo Ren to take that stupid thing off his head. And then what did he do? He rebelled, killed Snoke, and put that thing right back on his head. Yeah. Like he said, no, you're going to make me take this thing off? That's not me. I am this other entity. Yeah. I'm Kylo Ren, yeah.
Fair.
Okay, guys, there were a couple other things that we wanted to briefly mention, maybe even talk about a little bit, but we just wanted to say that The Mandalorian is officially the third highest streamed show behind Queen's Gambit and The Office, which is crazy in this time being, because you guys know how many people are watching The Office, how many people are watching
It's like
Queen's
they read
Gambit.
My streaming log. They're like, Lacey has 100%. The Mandalorian as the number 3, because all I ever watch is The Office and Queen's Gambit and Mandalorian. I read this article and I was like, they're just hacking my system.
Number 4 was Hallmark movies, actually. So there you go.
Or Virgin River is the new one that I've been watching, actually.
Yeah, actually, apparently, Adam Sandler movies have been watched 2 billion hours of Adam Sandler movies on Netflix.
People need
worldwide.
to pick me up this year. I forgive it. I forgive anything people watch this
according
year.
to Netflix also. Yeah. All right, guys, live action Ahsoka apparently has led to an increase in the Clone Wars and the Rebels stream. I mean, how does anybody know? But there is a company that kind of keeps track of a lot of this stuff, and they said notably, you can see that people are watching the Clone Wars and Rebels. I heard a number, this is bad reporting, but like four times more popular than it was like a while ago. something along those lines. But like definitely a huge increase in how many people are watching the Clone Wars and the Rebels, specifically because of the recent live action version of Ahsoka and the interest in the backstory of the characters.
Also, I'll just say this.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, I think people who are listening or watching to this episode should stay till the end of this episode.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna kind of reveal something. Okay.
Wait, hold on.
One more thing.
What I was gonna say is, actually, I had 3 random people, not like random, obviously they know me, but random in the sense of Star Wars fans, like casual people, text me about where they should start with Rebels and Clone Wars this past week.
Oh, that's
3
great.
different people. So, first of all, I should have sent them to James instead of me. Just be like, yo, text this number. He'll let you know. No, but it just kind of backs up what you were just saying, James, is like people are getting into that stuff.
Yeah, and I love it when people are getting into just the Mandalorian in general, and they'll always come and they'll be like, hey, I've been watching The Mandalorian. Explain this for me. And I'm always like, excuse me? What? You want to talk about Star Wars?
You're like, excuse me.
Don't talk about Star. Yeah. Well, I was like, we are about to get down. We're about to have a conversation.
Clone Wars, I know it has weird stuff, but when it comes to Rebels, you start on season 1, episode 1, and you start watching.
Yeah, I mean, that one's super straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a connected.
Clone Wars is weird because Clone Wars is like the machete order, like, you know,
it's very
you can have like,
serialized.
These ones aren't important, just watch these in these orders. Chronological. Well, guys, one last thing we wanted to say, rest in peace, right? To farewell Gene's guy, as the mistake in The Mandalorian has been removed. I know we're already probably past this as a culture, but it's our Monday show. We're reporting it. It's done. They took him out. So not much more to say. We actually digitally removed John.
John guy's out.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Kind of interesting. We did a poll on that particular thing. Do we leave him in or do we keep him, or do we leave him in or do we take him out? And even though most people said leave him in on our poll, they did in fact.
Disney was like, I saw TRB's poll. I say no to this.
Yeah. Also, Reddit AMA request Gene's guy. Like,
Gene's guy.
I want to, if we can track him down, I would love to have him on the show, right?
And shout out
that guy's
to,
never going to admit who it is.
Shout out to artist Brian Ward, who made the action figure card of Gene's guy.
And it went everywhere, and I felt so bad because every time I saw it, I was like, this isn't yours.
Yeah,
Stop
right.
reposting people's art. It is the worst thing you could do. Just retweet them.
Or if you post it, tag them or something. Yeah.
Tag them.
Yeah.
I can't... Okay, forget what I said earlier. That is the thing that annoys me most, is when people steal other people's art and then post it as their own, or just post it without any credit, or post it with credit without tagging that person. Mm-hmm. Just retweet the artist or share directly from the artist. There's no reason you need to get the likes for that. You didn't do it. End.
Well, I can think of a couple people that deserve tons and tons and tons of likes, and those are our patrons. Lacey, you want to take us into our next section?
Yeah, so guys, it is time for the Patreon pod race. So there are lots of different ways you can support us. You can follow us here on YouTube, Spotify, which is my personal favorite, Apple Podcasts. You can like this video, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN, on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast, or if you want more than that, you can head over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you support the show and everything that we're doing here, including creating new equipment, or creating new content, getting new equipment.
There you go.
And planning new stuff for the end of the year already. Next year, we've got a lot of really awesome plans that you guys are helping us create and do. So we want to give a thank you to our top tier, which is our generals. So thank you, Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Jetta Rosewater, Michael Gaines, Bethany, Russ Harbison, and Kendall Gelnar, Paul Olson, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
being generals. We really appreciate your support. This is the segment that we let them be a part of the show by asking them a question. They give us their answer, and then we respond to it. So this week we have General Michael Gaines, who has the coolest poster display in his office.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Spoiler alert. And we asked him, if you voted on Star Wars awards out of the entire franchise, who would you give the following awards to? Best Screenwriter, Best Director, and Best Actor. Michael, take it away.
All right, my choice for best screenplay would be for The Empire Strikes Back. Lawrence Kasdan and Leigh Brackett, definitely, hands down. Let's see, best director. I guess I'm showing my bias here, but I would have to go with Irvin Kershner. I mean, you can. It was a different time. I would say Innocence, J.J. Abrams as a second, but definitely, if I had to give best director, it'd be for Lawrence Kasdan. And best actor, Harrison Ford. There's just, in my opinion, no other comparison. So those are my picks for the Star Wars Awards, which didn't happen. All right. Thanks for asking. Bye.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for your answers. I'm going to let John start because I feel like this is kind of John's answer. Go ahead, John.
To quote James Carville, the political commentator, in his cameo in the movie Old School, I have no response. That was perfect.
James?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, man. It's like one of those things where I think generally we tend to think that The Empire Strikes Back is probably the best, but we have all these other reasons. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, you put it up against, it's like, oh, the best screenwriter. And you're like, well, I do got to give that to The Empire Strikes Back. Best director, best actor. He goes to the whole thing. And it proves true, and there is a reason that people tend to gravitate towards that one, and just in general say like, hey, I have my own personal favorite, but we all got to admit, like, the best film, like the best movie that was made out of Star Wars, really, for everybody, it probably is The Empire Strikes Back. It just does everything correctly. So kind of an interesting question where he had all the choices, and Michael really laid it down. So good job, Michael, and being true to the truth.
Michael, thank you so much for your answer. I love that you picked Harrison Ford. I just love that answer. It's such a good answer.
Yeah.
And then you're welcome for the question. John came up with it specifically for you. So
you answered it exactly how I hope you did, and thanks for and of course, like, it doesn't need to be said, but thanks for all your support too, man, and just being a great Star Wars fan and a wealth of knowledge as well, and it's always good hanging out with you in the chats and everything.
All right, so doing things a little bit different this week, we have coming up next Resistance Transmissions, because we have a special interview coming this Thursday, which we're going to reveal at the end of the show. So you have to stick around.
Stick around.
But now...
Is it Harrison Ford?
We're going to go to Lacey for Resistance Transmissions. Thanks, Lacey. It's time for Resistance Transmissions. All right, guys, you know how this works. Every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation, and you guys give your answers. I don't know what the scenario is. I don't know what you said, so we'll see how this goes. Now everyone's listening like, well, maybe I should just skip ahead and come back. Don't do
No,
that.
people listen to the
around.
Resistance.
All right, so the scenario is Grogu, which, by the way, I really love that name.
I love it too.
I'm
love
very
it.
used to it. Yeah.
I love it. Because I know some people were like, I don't know. I loved it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, it's perfect. All right. Grogu is in line at the DMV to have his name put on his license. Okay. Because he's 50, he can drive. What other Star Wars characters does he see at the DMV, and why are they there? All right. First up is Adam Odell at Odell Adam. Hey, Adam. He said... Captain Carson Teva and Trapper Wolf are there, bored out of their minds doing ship inspections for out-of-sector ship registrations.
That's perfect. That's exactly what they would be doing.
That's yeah.
All right. Next up is Alex Zukis at Zubaka, who said Casca Reeves is being asked to leave as her picture for her ID was taken 7 hours ago, and she is still staring at the camera.
Give me my Emmy.
John. Ridiculous. Next is Kendallorian at Galactic Curator. Hey, Kendall. He said 5 porgs stacked on top of each other under a trench coat trying to get a speeder bike license.
I like that.
It's very like
Have you guys
chipmunks.
ever seen that? Have you ever seen that clip of the guy, how they always do like, what is it? Man, like kids stacked up under a trench coat. Like that's
Yeah, they
that's
did it with
thing.
the Snickers commercial where it's that weird lady and
But-
she's like, oh, Snickers. Do you
But
remember
then
that
this
commercial?
guy did an impression of a coat dressed up in a man suit. And it's so funny. He's like doing this thing. Like it's so good. You got to see it. Google that. Anybody who's listening. Man dressed in trench coat.
Jeez.
Or
Next
trench
up
coat
is
dressed in man.
Holo Chronicles podcast at Holo Chronicles. Hey guys, they said Grogu. Hey, can you put 24 for my height, please? And no, I am not an organ donor.
Oh,
You
very,
mean blood donor.
very topical. Yeah.
Next is Fluke Skywalker at one Fluke Skywalker. What's up, Fluke? He said Max. She is there taking the eye. Oh,
Maz. Yeah. I think you meant-
Maz, she is there taking the eye exam before she gets hers renewed. She might need that. Although she
Oh,
has all
yeah.
those like.
Yeah.
That was so cool about that character. She
Can
had
you,
the
can you see the
one
light
or
on the
two,
left?
one or two, one or
Right.
two. All right. Next is Joey Sack at Joey Sack, who said Din Djarin is there to get his license renewed. The DMV informs him that he needs a new license picture and he's not allowed to wear his helmet this time. This is not the way.
I didn't know Moff Gideon worked at the DMV, but apparently he works.
Yeah. Oh.
Next is Brian Pothier at B Pothier. Brian, what's up? He said Darth Maul is there to get his vanity plates that read L3GL355.
Which reads as
Legless.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
legless.
Oh, missed that one. All right.
That's good.
Next is Russ at Clockwise Turnip. Ooh, that's a good handle.
Is that a
I
new
like that.
handle for Russ?
I don't know. I just like the handle.
No,
Is
yeah,
this
I'm-
Russ?
I think it's Russ.
Oh, hey, Russ.
It's Russ Harbison.
Why turnips? That's a good question. All right. He said Kylo Ren has been there for hours because he never filled the proper paperwork to change his name, and they don't accept him saying Ben Solo is dead as proof.
That's good.
And
Russ.
last but not least is Georgina Taylor at GM Taylor said, and there's a Bothan Karen looking to fight with the manager. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of the show. If you want to be on the show next time, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. John puts up the scenario. You give your answers. Hashtag Resistance Transmissions. And that's it. Back to you, John.
Okay, thank you to everyone for listening and watching and being a part of the Resistance. As Lacey said, subscribe because we have a lot of content coming your way. And while we may take a little break at the end of this month for the first time in 3 years, we're going to be shot out of a cannon once again in January. So make sure you are subscribed anywhere you prefer to catch TRB, the Mando Fan Show, all the stuff we got going on. All of our other videos too, like Patreon, all down the line. But also go to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news. Again, the Mando Fan Show Friday, we're going to be talking Chapter 15 with Ashi Bashar from the metal band Beartooth. And he's going to join us to break all that down. But this Thursday, you're not getting One with the Force. You're not getting Will of the Force. People are always asking about where this person is. Found him. So on the count of 3, we're all going to say who we're
Come
interviewing.
on.
The character or the person?
The person.
Okay.
On the count of 3, we're all going to say who the person that we're interviewing is on Thursday, and I think people are going to be really excited about it. So here we go. On 3. So 1, 2, 3. Taylor Gray. Ezra himself. We found him. Forget your hashtag. We found him. He's going to be in the Resistance base on Thursday. We're so excited to have Taylor Gray on. So pumped about that. I mean, I'm fired up. I am fired up. I've already done some rewatches of some key episodes and stuff like that. So you guys pumped about? Obviously you're pumped, but just say something.
He's the best, and I know you guys already know that, but he is. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So excited for this. Obviously, I know everybody here knows that I'm a big Rebels fan, so being able to talk with him and kind of ask him a lot of the questions and things that I personally have been wondering and curious about, including other things too about, hey, Mandalorian's going on, what's going on, a little bit. So, so we'll see. Yeah. It's I'm excited.
I'm absolutely excited for it. And we got more stuff coming after that too, which I'm excited about also. All right, well, now let's shamelessly plug ourselves. Lacey, where can people hang out with you on the social medias?
I was like, I don't know where this
I didn't know what to say. I was like...
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
James.
Yeah, now that the Lothcat's out of the bag, you can find me being excited about Taylor Gray coming up. Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and Star Wars Newsnet. And if you want to hear me talk about other movies, like 80s movies and 90s movies, I have a little side fun podcast with one of my best friends, Mike, which is called Just Like the Movies. So go to anchor.fm/justlikethemovies and listen to me talk about like GoldenEye and Batman and stuff like that.
An Alien Ant Farm.
An Alien Ant Farm, yeah, exactly. That's what it was. The name was based off of, yeah. So we don't need to say it. We're gonna be back with you Thursday morning. We are so excited for that episode, and don't forget the Mando Fan Show on Friday night. But until next time, from the three of us here at TRB, we will see you around, kids.